Okay, so picture this. It's 1981, and Nissan is at the absolute top of its game. And then they do something unthinkable. They decide to kill one of the most beloved brand names in America, Datsun, a name that meant reliability, value, and thanks to one incredible car, it meant you were cool. So why on earth would a company do that? Well, that's the billion-dollar question we're digging into today.
It's a move so infamous that business schools literally use it as a cautionary tale. This is the story of how one of the world's sharpest automakers committed what you could only call brand suicide, and what it tells us about what a brand name really is.
All right, so to really get why ditching the Datsun name was such a complete disaster, we've got to go back to the beginning. We need to see how this scrappy underdog brand won over America's heart in the first place.
So the name itself, it actually goes all the way back to the 1930s. But the big decision, the one that really matters for our story, is when the parent company, Nissan, decides to use the Datsun name for all its exports. And by 1958, the very first Datsuns are landing on American shores, ready to take on the giants in Detroit.
And man, they were the total opposite of what Detroit was building at the time. You had these massive, gas-guzzling American land yachts, and then you had these Datsuns. They were small, they were great on gas, and they were just ridiculously reliable. They weren't flashy, not at all, but they slowly built up this super loyal following of people who cared more about a car that just worked, whether it was their trusty 510 sedan or one of those tough-as-nails pickup trucks.
So, Datsun had this solid reputation for being, sensible, dependable. But they were about to unleash a car that was neither of those things. A car that would completely shatter their image and create this incredible bond with American drivers.
In 1970, the whole game changed. When the Datsun 240Z showed up, it wasn't just another car launch. It was like a sonic boom that echoed through the entire auto industry. And just look at that price, a little over $3,000. This car had the jaw-dropping looks of a European sports car that should have cost, 3 or 4 times that much, but it was priced for a regular person. That was just revolutionary.
And hey, it wasn't just a pretty face. The critics were absolutely floored. Sports Car Graphic didn't say it was good for the price. They called it, and I quote, the best GT car on the market, period. It was fast, it handled like a dream, and it had this amazing engine. Road and Track could see what was happening. They called it a Japanese invasion. The 240Z proved that a car could be affordable, reliable, and incredibly sexy. It was a package that had never really existed before, and it changed everything.
So this is the whole point, right here. The 240Z completely rewrote Datsun's identity. They went from making your professor's sensible little car to making that car. Suddenly, Datsun wasn't just reliable anymore. Datsun was cool.
So, they're riding this huge wave from the Z's success, and then, wouldn't you know it, the 1973 oil crisis hits. The timing was perfect. That cool factor from the Z cast this halo over the entire brand, cementing this really powerful connection with American car buyers.
I mean, the numbers were just staggering. By the late 70s, Datsun was selling over 500,000 cars a year in the US. They just blew right past Volkswagen, right past Toyota to become the #1 import brand in the entire country.
But, this was so much more than sales figures. Americans had this genuine loyalty to the Datsun name. They trusted it. You take that coolness from the Z and you combine it with years of just bulletproof reliability, what you get is a deep emotional connection. This is the kind of brand loyalty companies spend billions trying to create.
And then, at the absolute pinnacle of their success, an executive back at Nissan headquarters in Tokyo had, what one source calls, a really bad idea. They decided to fix a problem that, as far as American customers were concerned, didn't even exist.
From a corporate boardroom in Tokyo, you can almost see the logic. It's like, okay, our company is Nissan here at home, but we're Datsun in our biggest, most important market. It looks messy on the org chart. So the solution? Let's just unify everything all over the world under the Nissan name. Simple, clean, makes perfect sense. On paper.
Now, this is the part that is just unbelievable. They had the data showing them just how terrible this idea was. Their own research showed that 85% of Americans knew the Datsun name, and Nissan, a tiny 2%. They knew they were about to set fire to decades of brand loyalty for a name that meant absolutely nothing to their customers, and they did it anyway.
And the result? It was immediate, and it was a catastrophe. Customers were just confused. They're walking into dealerships asking, hey, where did the Datsuns go?
Market share just cratered, dropping by as much as 30% over the next few years, all while their competitors like Toyota and Honda were just taking off.
So what's the final price tag on a mistake this big? Well, when you factor in the huge ad campaigns to explain the change, re-signing every dealership, and all those lost sales, analysts figure the total cost was well over $1 billion. With a B.
But here's the most incredible part of this whole saga. Even after Nissan spent $1 billion trying to kill it, the Datsun brand just refused to die.
I mean, even today, a classic 240Z can be worth a small fortune. You've still got Datsun clubs meeting up all over the country. People are still pouring their heart and soul into restoring these old cars. The brand is alive not because of some corporate memo, but because of the very people the corporation ignored, its fans.
So what's the final lesson here? It's that the executives at Nissan saw a brand as a name on a spreadsheet, an inconsistency they needed to fix. What they completely failed to see was the relationship. A brand isn't just an asset that you own. It's this powerful connection that lives in the hearts and minds of your customers. The story of Datsun really just leaves us with this one simple question. What's actually more powerful? A corporate memo from halfway around the world, or a customer's memory? A company can change the badge on the car, but it seems like you can never truly kill the love people have for a brand.